10, 9, ignition sequence start. 6.
Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community. My name is Whack Attack. Today is February 22nd, and we're starting the episode with some really sad news that happened yesterday. So, Agent Provocateur said, "Crap, I just got slashed for double attestation. I don't understand. I ran service terminate on the current node." And I guess he means his previous node. And then he's like, "Is slashing permanent? Both my validators are slashed. How much am I going to lose?" And then object says around 1 ETH per validator, and what happened. So then Agent Provocateur goes to kind of explain what happened, and there was a whole discussion going on. But let's kind of have a look at the slash nodes. So here there's milling pool validator 275274, and they exited, and you can see that it got a huge slash right here. And then there's the second validator 269454 that also got slashed. Oh, that actually had a nice block right here that was over half an ETH. But yeah, besides the point, they lost an ETH in the rewards there. So on the ETH principle, I guess, not just the rewards. So that's the fine. And they'll also be leaking amounts until they get booted, I think, which takes 36 days. So they were talking about it in support, and Object was helping, Patches was helping. Joe turned up later, and they were trying to get Agent Provocateur to try to figure out what was going on exactly and what had happened, and they were kind of trying to figure out exactly what happens. So it seems Patches says if you terminated the node first, then the purge command that you ran after that probably failed. And Agent Provocateur says, "Is that stated clearly anywhere in the docs?" And Object says nope. And then Patches says the docs don't talk about this much, but there's still a reason I use SRM in my guide. Phonax is going to be heartbroken. So there was a big back and forth, all the discussion that was happening about what happened. People were trying to figure it out, and Patches says, "I have all the context for a post-mortem if that would be helpful." And then he wrote a post-mortem. So let's have a look at the post-mortem. He says 2 mini pools were slashed today with the following timeline. Node operator ran Rocket Pool service terminate, expecting this to delete his keys. It does not currently delete the keys. Ran Rocket Pool wallet purge to be safe, but it failed due to the previous terminate, and they did not notice the error. Node operator proceeded to restore a wallet on a different node and eventually restarted the service on the original node, leading to attestation violations. And then this is number 315, adds verbosity to the error reporting for the purge command, but we should have terminate do a best effort deletion of their data directory for the project, and then kind of goes on to explain what a better way of getting rid of the data on the old node seems to be. And then Phiz says this seems to be roughly similar to the occurrence to the one that's described in issue 212. So it seems like they kind of figured out what was going on. The user thought they had cleared their old node. The old node wasn't cleared. They loaded it up on their new node and a double attest, and they lost 2 ETH for their 2 mini pools. So it's definitely not nice for this node operator. Patches was saying that this is one of the few occurrences where you can kind of feel bad for the person getting slashed because it's not entirely their fault. They thought they were doing things. Maybe they could have been a bit more prudent. Maybe they could have had a look a little bit more closely. But it wasn't necessarily all their mistake. So it was really sad that happened, and people were they felt bad for Agent Provocateur. And then Agent Provocateur said, would the team consider some kind of bug bounty reward to make up for the loss? He said, "I'm not looking to make any money, just make up the fact that losses should be insignificant to the organization. So I guess Joe asked the team, and he says, I asked the team, and the team has declined compensation, so crowdfunding is the best option. And then Joe tells Agent Provocateur to reach out to Romana. People started saying they'll chip in, and then Agent Provocateur left me this message as well to include in Rocket Fuel today. He says, adding to this submission, I was node operator who got slashed due to the issues where service terminate did not delete the keys, and Wallet Purge won't work after service terminate. I asked for compensation for the slashing losses from the bug bounty program, but the team ultimately denied it. At the suggestion of fellow members, I am setting up a crowd fund at my withdrawal address to help ease the pain and raise awareness for the issue, so that this won't happen to anyone else. And then there's an address where Agent Provocateur is accepting donations. So if you want to donate to Agent Provocateur, you can see the message in the description with this timestamp, the last one, and you can send them some RPL or ETH if you feel that way inclined. It's a really horrible situation that happened, and there were a few discussions that kind of came up around it about how you should always make sure that you are not there's no way that you can double a test. Some people take the drastic action of saying break the hard drive, the SSD card that the previous node was on, like just leave zero option for that happening. And Phiz says that if you're not comfortable, like in the tweet he said, you'd rather leave your node offline while you figure things out instead of like losing 6 cents per attestation miss, instead of losing nearly $3,500 in 2 ETH that was burned because of the slashing. So it's a sad situation. It's really one of the reasons why it's so sad is because there was an element of this not being Agent Provocateur's fault. So that's the shame of it. But hey, if you are feeling charitable, then please reach out to Agent Provocateur or send some RPL or ETH or whatever you want to send to the address that is in their post. So yeah, sorry bro. Also we got some news that there's an issue with Besu version 23.1.0. If you update to this on your Smartnode stack, it could cause your Smartnode stack to break. And Yorick says it's responding on RPC in a way that breaks interactions. Interesting. And the Agent Provocateur was also talking about this before that. He says, I don't know what that means, but there's lots of, but here are my logs after Rocket Pool service terminate, switching to latest Besu and Teku and performing the initial sync. And then Joe says it's safeguarding randomly and the RPC API is returning complete nonsense. I was going to put this in 1.82. And then Joachim says it works fine for testing, definitely better block import times, but yeah, Smartnode RPC stuff is somewhat broken. And Joe says it works until it crashes. And he says it's totally balked. I might have to do an announcement when I get on. But there's not been any formal announcement from Joe yet, although he did say that, well, I will come back to that later, about how this ties together to the latest software updates. But before we do that, actually let's go to that right now. Where am I going? Yeah, let's not do that right now. Let's talk about the community call that happened yesterday. Ken hosted the community call, and there were two main topics of conversation during the community call. The first one was Denver. Maverick and Ken were talking about just how huge they expect Denver to be, with literally thousands of people coming by the booths, and we're going to be extremely busy. Maverick was saying how there's going to be at least one team member on the booth at all times, along with volunteers and other people who are not on the list at that moment but want to help out. It's really exciting that they're making the booth seem like a really cool place. But there's definitely this idea that swag will probably run out. So if you are a person who likes to collect swag, it might be better to get those on the first days of the conference instead of waiting until later, because you don't want to be in a situation where you can't get what you need. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. Then they spent some time talking about Atlas and all the things that are going into the planning of Atlas. There's lots of like community calls and other events are happening for like Langers and other team members that are kind of moving things around, and some of the calls that were supposed to happen before Atlas are getting moved to the middle of March. So that is definitely something that's taking place as well. But one of the things that Maverick mentioned was that the team are hopeful of getting Atlas out before Shanghai. It seems like Shanghai the Shanghai hard fork, or the Shapella hard fork, whatever you want to call it, is happening maybe towards the end of March. There was some talk about a month ago about it happening in the middle of March, but the testnets haven't gone live yet for Shanghai, so we don't have the what's the name of the testnet? I've totally forgotten. The second one, there's Sepolia. Yeah, the Sepolia testnet hasn't gone live yet. So once that goes live, it'll probably run for a couple of weeks, and then we'll have the Goerli testnet that will run for a couple of weeks, and then we'll have mainnet. So even in the best case scenario, if it happened today, then we'd probably get Shanghai Shapella towards like the 3rd or 4th week of March, and that's not happened yet. So it's definitely like some good information in that call. So it was an hour long. Go back and listen to it. You can definitely find out what's going on in that. And along with that, people would then start to ask the question like, Naja was saying, how long do you think Atlas before Shanghai is, and like what's the likelihood of Atlas being before? How likely do you think Atlas before Shanghai is? And then Kevster said 84.6%, and Valdov said 78.6%, and he said, Kane, do you want to make up a number 2? And Kane said 85%. So it's really great that Kane here is giving us the official position of the team and saying that Atlas is 85% likely to happen before Shanghai, which I think is really good chance of that happening. And thanks Kane for confirming that position of the team there and letting us know. I'm definitely not letting you get away with this made up number. I'm definitely treating it as if it's legitimate. But I've talked on here a few times before about how it's really important to get Atlas before Shanghai, and the sounds that have been coming from the team have been really encouraging that that's going to happen. I know Kane here was joking, but I'm really happy that we have a glimmer, a strong glimmer, like a light of that happening, because I think it's going to be so crucial for that. But that's definitely interesting on that sense. Okay, next, now we have the update from Joe about the Smartnode stack. So he says it's possible we might end up removing version 1.8 altogether and releasing 1.9 with everything at once, including Atlas. And he says, reason being, I have a lot of documentation that I need to update for both. I've been working 12 hours a day since January, and I need a break. And he says, I've been working so much because Denver is the thing. Jasper said, and Denver is the thing as well. But Joe has been working really hard, and it's been really tough for him. So I can't imagine how stressed he must be with all this stuff that's going on. But he says, I think version 1.9 is probably ready for alpha status at this point, and version 1.8 is still in beta. So it kind of makes sense timing wise to just squish them together and get one good release out of it all. And people saying, we love you, Joe, and people like giving a lot of support to Joe about this because it's working so hard. And then non-fungible Yoakum says 1.9 includes the multi-call optimizations for the Rocket Pool Daemon, and Joe says yes. And Takezo says, take a break, you more than deserve it and likely need it. And non-fungible Yoakum says, I'm curious if that helps the Besu situation, and Joe says it probably makes it worse. The Besu situation seems tightly correlated with ETH call and transaction simulation. And let me tell you, the multi-call is one hell of a transaction simulation. Here's what it looks like. And then it's like a really big thing. It says it's this for every single mini pool. It says with 200 mini pools batched into a single call, like let them fire off a request so you can see size-wise what we're talking about. And then he was saying 64,000 posts, rest in peace Alchemy. So there's a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes that are kind of like complicating matters, and it's really difficult to get everything to play nice at the moment, but I think it's great that Joe's working on it. At the moment, I'm not going to tell Joe to take a break because I know that he doesn't want to take a break himself. But as soon as Shanghai ships, as soon as Atlas ships and Shanghai goes smoothly, then I'm going to be the first person to tell team members to take time off because this period has been insane. I know Maverick's been working 7-day weeks. We don't really know about what's happening with other team members, but I can only assume that they're working just as hard as well. So great job, guys. We see all the hard work you're doing. We really appreciate it. But soon it's going to come time to take a break, and we really hope you all go to the Maldives or something. And Joe says I have version 1.9 up on Praetor now, so that's already getting ready for the alpha release for that. I guess Joe's running it just to make sure everything's running okay. So the versions are kind of meshing together, but 1.9 will be the version that carries Atlas. So that's really exciting that Joe thinks we can get that out soon. It's really exciting. Okay, the next thing is I want to go back a little bit and talk about some of the oDAO drama that's been happening this last week or so. And Boodle had this comment about being an influencer. He says being an influencer should not be a way into positions of power like the oDAO. So then Sassano came in and he says, I really don't understand the logic here. Bankless and myself are not influencers first. We are not influencers first. We are educators first, and both have worked tirelessly at that for years. So they've been going for 3 or 4 years, with the Daily Gwei and Bankless. He says, just speaking for myself and what kind of oDAO member I am, he said 100% I'm not an influencer, and it was never my goal to be one. I just wanted to educate, and I do that for free every single day via the Daily Gwei. Came third in the tree gen after investing thousands of dollars in infrastructure out of pocket in order to do it faster so that the community got benefits out of this. Donate all my substantial RPL rewards to the Protocol Guild when I could just keep this for myself. And I'm one of the most active oDAO members when it comes to posting in here and promoting Rocket Pool. So what more do you want from an oDAO member? I really don't get it. So I think that was a really good point from Anthony Sassano, just talking about how he approaches his duties. Sadly, I think almost everyone can agree that, Anthony's doing a really great job of being an oDAO member. It's just some people take offense to the fact that other oDAO members are not taking the job as seriously as Anthony Sassano is. So that, I don't know. Let's see what some of the other comments were. Sassano says, I personally don't see the oDAO rewards as bleeding. To be honest, it's 1% of the total market cap to reward people who are critical of Rocket Pool's functionality. But generally, I will abstain from these discussions, any votes, because I am not an unbiased party. Someone crunched the numbers. I think it was Marceau, and he says it works out to be 0.55% of the payment. Actually, it might be worth it to try to find that tweet in a second. And then David Hoffman says he's also an oDAO member through Bankless. He says, oh, it's party time in trading, I see. There was whole discussion. Yeah, so Sassal says 0.55% of the market cap. That goes to the oDAO. That's laughably small amount of money. And then Dougie had a comment here. Says, what I don't understand is how someone cannot like Sassal. Daily Gwei got me into Ethereum, as one might say, influenced my interests. And Sassal says, I was shilling Rocket Pool for a long time before joining the oDAO. I never shilled to get an oDAO spot. I donate all my rewards as well. So Sassano definitely, has been, I think, acting in the completely right way and willing to engage in the community with these discussions, even agreeing with the community with some of the points that community members are making about limiting the oDAO, expanding the oDAO, reducing their income, all that kind of stuff, which is really cool. And then next we had this other discussion about basically Sassano was around for a while, and he was enough of this. This is anyone out for now. Conversation has devolved, and I don't feel like there's any more value to be had at this time. We'll think on all of this more. And then he peaced out. So it was a really good discussion. People covered a lot of really good points. You can go back and definitely read all of those points. The links are in the description, but I don't want to spend too much more time talking about this until. Basically, I think the idea is right now, the idea that the position that I agree with is, this all this oDAO stuff is fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with having these discussions. However, the team right now are working on some really, really, really big things that are going to basically make or break the Rocket Pool protocol. The community's already had these conversations a few weeks ago and, like, come up with this idea of having a constitution or a charter of values for oDAO members. And I think that's great as well. And there seems to be this idea that, look, let's let the team get on with Atlas, let them get on with Shanghai stuff, let them get on with Denver. Once all of that is done, then we can have this conversation in a much more like detailed, like involved way, and we can really like grow this position. And I think that's the really smart thing to do. Like, I've brought up the oDAO on Rocket Fuel like pretty much once a week for the last 6 months. And the conversation happens even more frequently than that. I just kind of stopped covering it at one point because it was the same stuff over and over again. But my position would be to expand the oDAO massively, take it up to like 50 members, and definitely let there be more community members as part of that 50, dilute all the income, and that would definitely make it better. So even though the percentage of rewards for oDAO members won't change, the amount each one gets will change, and the duties and responsibilities of each one will be spread out more, and I think that will be good for everyone. So that's my position on that. But I think nobody's sweeping this under the rug. No one's like ignoring this. No one's shying away from hard conversations. We all know this is a reality of Rocket Pool protocol. And we want to fix it. We're working on fixing it as a community. But I just think we should wait 6 weeks to do that. So, yeah. Okay, like something really interesting happened yesterday. We had this tweet from people doing a chain analysis, and they said Jump Trading withdrew 78 million USDC from Circle and transferred 80 million USDC to address 0xF8AA just now. Then exchanged 80 million USDC for 80 million DAI and started to mint rETH. So they can't obviously mint rETH because the deposit contract is full, but what they were doing is they were using that to buy rETH, even paying a premium for that as well. So that was really amazing to see. Here you can see screenshots of the transactions, and like the money coming in from Circle, the money going out, and then the transactions for swapping it to DAI, and then getting rETH. So there was a test transaction here where they got 1 rETH, and then there was another transaction here when they got 3,212 rETH. So they're definitely like this is the kind of stuff that we should be focusing on, is how to make it easier for organizations like Jump Trading to literally accumulate tens of millions of dollars worth of rETH in a single go. And the experience right now is not ideal because they're having to buy in the secondary market and like all of that kind of stuff that comes with it. However, if they were to if the deposit pool with Atlas, if it's going to grow into 18,000, then they'll be able to like absorb all of their as much rETH as they want, pretty much, because there'll be a queue of people waiting to switch to LEB8s. It's going to be a really exciting time. Like, this is the kind of stuff that we really want to be seeing about, and that gives you a signal to Rocket Pool's growth going forward. It's fantastic. Okay, Anthony Sassal on the Daily Gwei on yesterday's episode had this really interesting conversation about Eigenlayer. I'm going to play it really quickly, and then we'll talk about what it means.
Alright, so Eigenlayer has released the first public version of their white paper. So it's on the forum and at the website here. Of course, I'll link it in the YouTube description for you guys to check out. They're also going to be doing a Twitter Spaces on the 22nd of February at 5 p.m. UTC, which is 9 a.m. Pacific time here. And you can set a reminder for yourself if you find the link in the YouTube description. But this is really cool. I mean, I haven't gone through it just yet. It's
Let me
about
just
19 pages,
skip it.
pages there here about Eigenlayer. And I've talked about Eigenlayer a bunch on the refilming for a very long time now. So obviously I don't need to go through it again, but the white paper is there for you to go check out. Now, John here had a really great highlighted a really great part of the white paper here, which was section 4.4, which says Eigenlayer can incentivize Ethereum staker decentralization. And
Right, okay. So, sorry, Anthony, I played a longer clip than I expected of your show. So basically, Anthony then talks about this idea that Eigenlayer can pick which people it wants to be able to use the Eigenlayer service. So the idea would be that the service would be used by solo stakers, home operators, and also Rocket Pool users, instead of, and as opposed to like centralized services like Coinbase and Binance, etc., who are also running staking operations. And this means that your rewards will be outsized for staking your ETH, and because of your outsized rewards, you will be able to this will then bring more people towards decentralized staking and home staking and Rocket Pool staking, which is really amazing, and a huge growth opportunity in the coming year to 18 months as more and more protocols use Eigenlayer for the security. Eigenlayer will then use more and more solo stakers and Rocket Pool stakers for their validation, for their proof of stake, and reusing that stake as well. So this is definitely really exciting. And Marceau here had a tweet as well. He retweets some of that same information. He retweets Kunal says lots of options for liquid staking protocols to provide boosted yield through Eigenlayer. Looks like the market is catching up to the announcement. And then he highlights LDO on RPL. However, LDO, from my understanding, if I was Eigenlayer, I wouldn't choose LDO in this situation because they've got 29 people running thousands of validators each. It really kind of goes against that decentralized idea that we want to promote. Marceau says, imagine when Rocket Pool gets first class integration for additional Eigenlayer services. It's literally in the Eigenlayer white paper. No more guessing needed. Imagine if Rocket Pool can build even more demand by acting as collateral for those additional slashing conditions. Yeah, that idea in your mind of even more demand than people have, like even the bull theses have called for, is just mind-bogglingly amazing. And Kevin says, any estimates on additional yield yet? And Marceau says, I haven't seen any info on this. Expect a couple of percent, but will probably depend on how many services and how risky they are. So I've seen these people mention these ideas before, and they say that basically, like, for adding something really safe and really straightforward, it might be like an additional 1%, maybe additional 2%, and then riskier things you could get like 2%, 3%, 4%, like 5-10% even. Of course, each one of those is an additional slashing risk that you add to your validator. However, if you stack the rewards in the right way, it could double, triple, quadruple, 10x potentially your staking income. I know that's a very outlandish estimation, but I've seen people like use those kind of numbers in their projections. Of course, none of that is official yet, but hey, like with the hyper staking stuff, it looked like LSD staking for Rocket Pool was going to swing in the favor of rETH holders, but something like Eigenlayer might help it swing back towards node operators as well. So this is really exciting, really great news, and I'm really excited to see what comes of it. Okay, next we had this comment from Phiz, and he tagged me in, and he says, PSA, public service announcement for me, Rocket Pool is at risk of being a chain censorship agent through using censoring MEV relays. It would be good to encourage people to disable censoring relays and allow us to continue working towards being good network citizens. Maybe set a goal and work towards it. So I said to Phiz, do you have any info about this? I thought we're all heading in a pretty good direction overall. we're now under 50% OFAC compliant blocks, which means that the average delay for a transaction that has a Tornado Cash, the average delay for a Tornado Cash transaction will now be about 12 seconds, which is really fantastic. And Valdov says there's currently no appreciable censorship because not one single Tornado Cash transaction has been censored on the Ethereum network since the OFAC rules went into place. They've all gone through. And then Object says there's a small issue preventing this. Many US node operators are afraid of using non-censoring relays because the legal implications aren't clear. We can't tell them to stop being afraid. We need to address the legal issues first. And then Phiz says, I'm not interested in arguing or debating. I'm just sharing things as I become aware of them. But then, Phiz's comments really like started a discussion about what censorship is, what censorship isn't. Valdov says, I just don't think it's a worthwhile topic. About 50% of blocks come from OFAC compliant relays right now, and are we really upset that a particular transaction needs to wait an additional 12 seconds? And Dibsy says the minimum bid will double that number. So the minimum bid is a flashbot service that's being added that says if your block comes in under a certain percentage, certain amount, then you'll just build a block locally. Whereas if your block MEV is above a certain amount, then you can choose to have flashbots make your block for you, and then that number will come down a lot as well, because people will set the amount to be like, X, which is a price that they're happy with, and then other than that they'll accept the censored block, technically, like a flashbots built block, so a regulated built block. So there's definitely a lot of discussion that's happening here and stuff that we've gone over in the past as well. And then Phiz popped by later again and says, I feel like it was a poor choice to say my piece and leave. This room feels really argumentative lately, and it's not a vibe I thrive on. Looking forward to some evolution. I observed comments from someone I respect in the community who pointed that Rocket Pool's censorship rate, they cited 46%, was higher than their expectation given Rocket Pool's positive chain alignment. So I can only speak for myself here, and I know Phiz listens to Rocket Fuel, so I'm not commenting directly on what Phiz said. I have all the relays turned on that Rocket Pool allows, and then whichever one builds the best block will win that block when I propose. Some of my blocks have gone through flashbots, others have gone through blocks route unregulated, and I think even one went through ultrasound money. It's something that I need to think about more, but it's definitely, I think the market's getting to the point now where it's competitive enough that it's not always flashbots who have the best blocks. So it might be worth it to turn off blocks route regulated and the flashbots relays. I don't know if other people are going to agree with my assessment or not, but it might be at that point now where we could do something like that. And it's always good, I think, to present the Ethereum blockchain as uncensored, as not censoring, because it's so important. And even though there's not been any actual censorship that's taken place, it's definitely been something that a lot of people who like the FUD on ETH have been pointing out. So maybe I'm glad that Phiz mentioned this, because it definitely brought up a conversation in trading, and that's always good. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, 46%. I think that's kind of in line with the average of the Beacon chain right now. If you look at the MEV Watch website, I think that's what they're saying as well. But of course, as others have pointed out, that's not always the best metric to look at for censorship, because it just tells you how many blocks are made using a relay that does censor. It doesn't tell you how many blocks actually censored a transaction, which I'm sure does happen, but it's just a lot more difficult to compute. But however, then within a minute those blocks get included by someone else, most likely. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting discussion. Okay, next we had this post from Rocknet, who says the Rocket Pool flash briefing skills is released. Here's a video on how to get it added to your Alexa app and or device. So then there's a tweet saying, I made Alexa flash briefing skill for Rocket Pool. It typically runs about 70 seconds and it covers any custom news events, Rocket Fuel, Smartnode installer releases, node operator mini pool stats, and the RPL ETH ratio, and it's updated every 30 minutes. So if you have a look at this video, Rocknet here shows you how to install it. Wait, I might have to go to Twitter to have a look at it. Rocknet shows you how to install it, and let me
use it. So we're looking at the Alexa. Hey everyone, I made an Alexa flash briefing skill for Rocket Pool, and I want to show you how to use it. So we're looking at the Alexa app in iOS. I'm sure in Android it looks similar. You can see I have a skills and games icon in my shortcuts. If you have that, you can use it. Otherwise, click on more and skills and games. Either way, you're going to get to a screen that looks like this. Hit search and then Rocket Pool. In the search bar, hit search. It's the first one that comes up. Click enable. Now, whether you've used flash briefing before or not, you're probably going to want to go into settings and then manage flash briefings. So you can see here I have kind of a list of default sources. These are set up, I'm pretty sure they were automatic. I'm going to uncheck all of these so that only Rocket Pool comes up for me. You can, of course, choose whatever you want, and you can rearrange them, the order with the edit button there. And once that is done, you are good to go. You can click home, and then if you click into here and say, get my flash briefing.
Here's the latest from your flash briefing. In Rocket Pool news today, this will be a big month for Rocket Pool. Also, Sassal woke up bullish.
So then that pulls the information you want. So Rocknet did a really cool little video there of how to add it to your Alexa enabled device, and then you just tell it to get your flash briefing and it tells you Rocket Pool news, which I think was a really cool little tool. Let me actually just like this and retweet this so people can see it. And yeah, good job Rocknet for getting that out there. And definitely get that added if you've got an Alexa device. Okay, and then next we had this really cool thing from Object, who posted milestone reached. 80.87 of all RPL has been exchanged for the new version. So there was a huge transaction that went through of, I think, 250,000 RPL was sat as old RPL and then got converted to new RPL. Yeah, this one's 266,000, and it says this wallet converted it. So then people started to get worried about whether they're going to sell it, whether they're going to stake it, what they're doing, and nobody really knew what was going on. And people were getting kind of scared about what was going to happen with that. Like, oh no, are they going to dump it on the market? Because obviously there's much more liquidity on the new RPL side compared to the old RPL side. And then we got some information about what they did, and I think it seemed like the person sent it out to let's see what they did. I think this is the person. Oh no, this is not the person. Wait, I'm kind of a boomer when it comes to from this person to this person, interacted with. Oh yeah, so this person. Right, okay, maybe it is that. So then they sent their RPL, as far as I can tell, to this contract right here. And let's have a look at what this contract is. And I think this was a liquidity position that they were adding to. So they did a test transaction of 100 RPL, and then they sent 266,000 RPL after that. But yeah, they haven't sold it, and that's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. But 80% is changed now from old to new, and I think the team still has their RPL as old RPL, although I'm not sure. So, that's nearly 15 million that's shifted now, which is fantastic. Okay, next we had this update from Butter, who says, please give this a like. And there's a tweet from the Beacon Chain website. And Beacon Chain, of course, is the monitor of all the staking on Ethereum. And it says, as promised, the option to broadcast voluntary exits has been added to Zhejiang, and we're confident that it will facilitate a smooth transition for most users. And then, of course, they cover Rocket Pool in there as well. So that's really great. And then it gives you a screenshot of what it looks like. Type voluntary exit. So good job. Okay, next we had this interesting point from oBizDev, and that's from Atomic Wallet. It says, hi team, I'm Andrew Kono from Atomic Wallet. Pleased to be here. May I know in what channel I should ask questions regarding collaboration? We're going to add Rocket Pool token to our platform. And then Object says, if you want to talk to someone from the team, please DM Maverick. If you just want to ask questions to the community, any channel works. And then he says that he wants to connect with Mav. And then we got some interesting information about what they are. So give me a second, let me find that. Atomic Wallet is a wallet that has 5 million users, and within that you can swap in and out of RPL now because they're adding RPL. Let me just find this. Yeah, so it's a crypto wallet for buying, staking, and exchanging. And it says Atomic Wallet is a non-custodial decentralized wallet. It means that you have your own backup phrase and private keys, and thus you can fully control your funds. So it's going to be nice to see that integration happening for for Rocket Pool. So I don't know if they're going to be integrating RPL or rETH, but hey, I guess we'll get information from that in a few weeks' time once the collaboration works. And next we had this link to today we had this link from Pteris, which is Ethereum dashboard, and you can actually use this to monitor the performance of your node as long as you have fewer than 5 validators running on there. And it gives you all sorts of different information, such as consensus performance, and then there's a validator drill down, so you can search by your public key and get that information from there. And then it has economic performance as well, so they tell you about all the rewards you've been getting. So it's a nice little dashboard that's for free if you have under 5 validators. So check that out. The link will be in the description for that. It is called Metrika. So on that note, I'm going to end today's episode. It got really long there, but I hope you all enjoy it, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.